Sai Ram. Sai Satcharitra, Chapter 5. In this chapter, we will learn about Baba's return with Chand Patil's marriage party, how Baba was welcomed and addressed as Sai, his contact with other saints, his attire and daily routine, the story of the Padukas, the wrestling bout with Mohiddin and change in his life, the turning of water into oil, and the Pseudo-Guru Javhar All. Return with Chand Patil's marriage party. As hinted in the last chapter, I shall now describe first how Sai Baba returned to Shirdi after his disappearance. They lived in the Aurangabad district, Nizam state, in a village called Dhoop. A well-to-do Mohiddin gentleman by name Chand Patil. While he was making a trip to Aurangabad, he lost his mare. For 2 long months, he made a diligent search but could not find the lost mare. After being disappointed, he returned from Aurangabad with the saddle on his back. After traveling 4 kos and a half, he came on the way to a mango tree under the foot of which sat a fakir. He had a cap on his head, wore kafani, a long robe, and had a satka, which is a short stick, under his arm. And he was preparing to smoke a chilim, the pipe. On seeing Chand Patil pass by the way, he called out to him and asked him to have a smoke and to rest a little. The fakir asked about the saddle. Chand Patil replied that it was of his mare, which was lost some time back. The fakir asked him to make a search in the Nala close by. He went, and the wonder of wonders, he found the mare there. He thought that this fakir was not an ordinary man, but a great saint. He returned to the fakir with the mare. The chilim was ready for being smoked, but 2 things were wanting: the fire to light the pipe and water to wet the chapi, a piece of cloth through which the smoke is drawn up. The fakir took his prong and thrust it forcefully into the ground, and out came a live ember, which he put on the pipe. Then he dashed the satka on the ground from where the water began to ooze. The chapi was wetted with the water, then wrung out and wrapped around the pipe. Thus, everything being complete, the fakir smoked the chilim and then gave it also to Chand Patil. On seeing all this, Chand Patil was wonderstruck. He requested the fakir to come to his home and accept his hospitality. Next day, he went to Patil and stayed there for some time. Patil was a village officer of Dhoop. His wife's brother's son was to be married, and the bride was from Shirdi. So Patil made preparations to start for Shirdi for the marriage. The fakir also accompanied the marriage party. The marriage went off without any hitch. The party returned to Dhoop, except the fakir, who stayed back in Shirdi and remained there forever. How the fakir got the name Sai. When the marriage party came to Shirdi, it alighted at the foot of a banyan tree in Bhagat Mahasapati's field near Khandoba's temple. The carts were loosened in the open courtyard of the Khandoba Mandir, and the members of the party descended one by one, and the fakir also got down. Bhagat Mahalsapati saw the young fakir getting down and accosted him, Ya Sai, which means welcome Sai. Others also addressed him as Sai, and thenceforth he became Sai Baba. Contact with other saints. Sai Baba began to stay in the deserted masjid. One saint named Devidas was living in Shirdi for many years before Baba came there. Baba liked his company. He stayed with him in the Maruti temple in the Chavdi and sometime lived alone. Then came another saint by name Janki Das. Baba spent most of his time in talking with him, or Janki Das went to Baba's residence. So also one Vaishya householder saint from Putambi by name Gangagir always frequented Shirdi. When he saw Baba for the first time, carrying pitchers of water in his hands for watering the garden, he was amazed and said openly, "Blessed is Shirdi that it got its precious jewel. This man is carrying water today, but he is not an ordinary fellow. As this land was fortunate and meritorious, it secured this jewel." So also, one famous saint by the name Anand Nath of Yavala Mutt, a disciple of Akkalkot Maharaj, came to Shirdi with some people. When he saw Sai Baba, he said openly, "This is a precious diamond in reality. Though he looks like an ordinary man, he is not a gar or an ordinary stone, but a diamond. You will realize this in the near future." Saying this, he returned to Yavala. This was said while Sai Baba was a youngster. Now let's look at Sai Baba's dress and daily routine. In his young days, Sai Baba grew hair on his head, never had his head shaved. He dressed like an athlete. When he went to Rahata, which is 3 miles away from Shirdi, he brought with him small plants of marigold, jai and joy. And after cleaning, he planted and watered them. A devotee by name Vaman Tatya supplied him daily with 2 unbaked earthen pitchers. With these, Baba himself used to water the plants. He drew water from the well and carried the pitchers on his shoulders. In the evening, the pitchers were kept at the foot of the neem tree. As soon as they were placed there, they were broken, as they were made of raw earth and not baked. Next day, Tatya supplied 2 fresh pitchers. This course went on for 3 years, and with Sai Baba's toil and effort, there grew a garden. On this site at present stands the big mansion Samadhi Mandir of Baba, which is now frequented and used by so many devotees. The story of the Padukas under the neem tree. A devotee of Akkalkot Maharaj by named Bhai Krishna Ji Alibagkar worshipped the photo of Akkalkot Maharaj. He once thought of going to Akkalkot, which is in Solapur district, take the darshan of the Padukas of the Maharaj and offer his sincere prayer there. But before he could go there, he got a vision in his dream. Akkalkot Maharaj appeared in the vision and said to him, "Now Shirdi is my resting place. Go there and offer your worship." So Bhai changed his plan and came to Shirdi, worshipped Baba, stayed there for 6 months and was happy. As a reminiscence of his vision, etc., he prepared the Padukas and installed them on an auspicious day of Shravan Shaka, 1834, which is 1912 AD under the neem tree with due ceremonies and formalities conducted by Dada Kelkar and Upasani. One Dikshit Brahmin was appointed for worship, and the management was entrusted to devotee Sagun. Complete version of this story. Mr. B.V. Dev, retired Mamlatdar of Thana and a great devotee of Sai Baba, made enquiries about this matter with Sagun Meru Nayak and Govid Kamlakar Dikshit, and has published a full version of the Padukas in Sai Leela, Volume 2, Number 1, page 25. It runs as follows. In 1834 Shaka year, that is 1912 AD, one Dr. Ram Rav Kotare of Mumbai came to Shirdi for Baba's darshan. His compounder and his friend Bhai Krishnaji Ali Bakkar accompanied him. The compounder and Bhai became intimate with Sagun Meru Nayak and G.K. Dikshit. While discussing things, these persons thought that there must be some memorial of Sai Baba's first advent at Shirdi and sitting under the holy neem tree. They thought of installing Baba's Padukas there and were going to make them of some rough stone. Then Bhai's friend, the compounder, suggested that if this matter was made known to his master, Dr. Ram Rav Kotare, he would prepare nice Padukas for this purpose. All liked this proposal, and Dr. Kotare was informed of it. He came to Shirdi and drew a plan of the Padukas. He went to Upasani Maharaj in Khandoba's temple and showed him his plan. The latter made many improvements, drew lotus, flowers, conch, disc, mace, etc., and suggested that the following shloka regarding neem tree's greatness and Baba's yogic powers be inscribed. The verse was as follows. Sada nimba vrikshasya muladivasat sudastra vinam tiktamapya priyam tam tarum kalpa vrikshadikam satyantam namamishwaram sadgurum sainatham. The translation is as follows. I bow down to Lord Sainath, who by his constant stay at the foot of the neem tree made it, which though bitter and unpleasant was yet oozing nectar. The oozing of the tree is called Amrit, that is, nectar, on account of its healing properties. Better than the Kalpavriksha, the wish-fulfilling tree. Upasani's suggestions were accepted and carried out. The Padukas were made in Mumbai and sent to Shirdi with the compounder. Baba said that they should be installed on the Purnami, 15th of Shravan. On that day at 11 a.m., G.K. Dikshit brought them on his head from Khandoba's temple to the Dwarkamai. In the procession, Baba touched the Padukas, saying that these are the feet of the Lord, and asked the people to install them under the foot of the neem tree. A day before, one Parsi devotee of Mumbai named Pasta Seth sent rupees 25 by money order. Baba gave the sum for the installation of the Padukas. The total expense of installation came up to rupees 100, out of which rupees 75 were collected by subscriptions. For the first 5 years, G.K. Dikshit worshipped the Padukas daily, and then this was done by Lakshman Kacheshwar Jhakri. In the first 5 years, Mr. Kotare sent rupees 2 per month for lighting lamp, and he also sent the railing round the Padukas. The expense of bringing the railing from the station to Shirdi was rupees 7 and 50 paisa, and the roofing was paid by Sagun Meru Nayak. Now Jhakri Nana Pujari does the worship, and Sagun Meru Nayak offers the Naivedya and lights the evening lamps. Bhai Krishna Ji was originally a devotee of Akkalkot Maharaj. He had come to Shirdi at the installation of the Padukas in Shaka year 1834 on his way to Akkalkot. He wanted to go to Akkalkot. After taking the darshan of Baba, he asked Baba's permission for this. Baba said, "Oh, what is there in Akkalkot? Why do you have to go there? The Maharaj of that place is here, myself." Hearing this, Bhai did not go to Akkalkot. He came to Shirdi off and on after the installation of the Padukas. Mr. B.V. Dev concluded that Himat Pant did not know these details. Had he known them, he would not have failed to depict them in his Satcharitra. Now let's talk about the wrestling bout with Mohiddin Tamboli and change in Baba's lifestyle. To return to other stories of Baba, there was a wrestler in Shirdi by name Mohiddin Tamboli. Baba and he did not agree on some points, and both had a fight. In this, Baba was defeated. Thenceforth, Baba changed his dress and mode of living. He donated kafni, wore a langot, a waistband, and covered his head with a piece of cloth. He took a piece of sackcloth for his bed and was content with wearing torn and worn-out rags. He always said that poverty is better than kingship, far better than lordship. The Lord is always brother, befriender of the poor. Gangakir was also very fond of wrestling. While he was once wrestling, a similar feeling of dispassion descended over him, and at the proper time he heard the voice of an adept saying that he should wear out his body playing with the god. So he too gave up sansara and turned towards God realization. He established a mutt on the banks of the river near Puttambi and lived there with his disciples. Sai Baba did not mix and speak with the people. He only gave answers when he was questioned. By day, he always sat under the neem tree, sometimes under the shade of the babul tree near the stream, at the outskirts of the village. In the afternoon, he used to walk at random and go at times to Neemgaon. There, he frequented the house of Bala Sahib Dengle. Baba loved Mr. Bala Sahib. His younger brother, named Nana Sahib, had no son, though he married a second wife. Bala Sahib sent Nana Sahib for taking darshan of Sai Baba, and after some time, with his grace, Nana Sahib got a son. From that time onwards, people began to come in numbers to see Sai Baba, and his fame began to spread and reached Ahmednagar. From thence, Nana Sahib Chandorkar and Keshav Chidambar and many others began to come to Shirdi. Baba was surrounded by his devotees during day and slept at night in an old and dilapidated masjid. Baba's paraphernalia at this time consisted of a chilim, a tobacco, a tomb rail, which is a tin pot, a long kafni, a piece of cloth around his head, and a satka, a short stick, which he always kept with him. The piece of white cloth on his head was twisted like matted hair and flowed down from the left ear on the back. This was not washed for weeks. He wore no shoes or sandals. A piece of sackcloth was his seat for most of the day. He wore a cupin, a waist cloth pant, and for warding off cold, he always sat in front of the dhuni, a sacred fire facing south. With his left hand resting on the wooden railing, in that dhuni he offered an oblation of egoism, desires, and always uttered, Allah Malik. God is the sole owner. The masjid in which he sat was only of 2-room dimensions, where all devotees came and saw him. After 1912, there was a change. The old masjid was repaired and a pavement was constructed. Before Baba came to live in this masjid, he lived for a long time in a place, Takia, where with ghungroo, small bells tied on his ankles, Baba danced beautifully and sang with his tender love. The story of turning water into oil. Sai Baba was very fond of lights. He used to borrow oil from the shopkeepers and keep lamps burning the whole night in the masjid and temple. This went on for some time. The Bhaniyas who supplied oil, gratis, once met together and decided not to give him oil. When, as usual, Baba went to ask for oil, they all gave him a distinct no. Unperturbed, Baba returned to the masjid and kept the dry wicks and the lamps. The Baniyas were watching him with curiosity. Baba took the tomb rail, which contained very little, a few drops of oil. He put water into it and drank it, and then forced it fall into the container. After consecrating the tin pot in this way, he again took the water from the tin pot and filled all the lamps with it and lighted them. To the surprise and dismay of the watching Baniyas, the lamps began to burn and kept burning the whole night. The Baniyas repented and apologized, and Baba forgave them and asked them to be more truthful in future. Now let's talk about the Pseudo-Guru Javhar All. 5 years after the wrestling bout, the above mentioned one fakir from Ahmednagar by named Javhar All came to Rahata with his disciples and stayed in Bakal near Veerbhadra temple. The fakir was learned, could repeat the whole Quran, and had a sweet tongue. Many religious and devout people of the village came to him and began to respect him. With the help of the people, he started to build an Eidgah, a wall enclosure in which the Mohiddins pray on the Eid day, near the Veerbhadra temple. There was some quarrel about the affair, on the account of which Javhar All had to leave Rahata. Then he came to Shirdi and lived in the masjid with Baba. People were captured by his sweet talk, and he began to call Baba his disciple. Baba did not object and consented to be his chela. Then both Guru and chela decided to return to Rahata and live there. The Guru never knew his disciple's worth, but the disciple knew the shortcomings of the Guru. Still, he never disrespected him, observing carefully his duties. He even served the master in various ways. They used to come to Shirdi off and on, but their main stay was in Rahata. The loving devotees of Baba in Shirdi did not like that Baba should stay away from them in Rahata. So they went into a deputation to bring back to Shirdi. When they met Baba near the Eidgah and told him the purpose for which they came, Baba said to them that the fakir was an angry, ill-tempered fellow. he would not leave him and that they should better go back to Shirdi without him before the fakir returned. While they were thus talking, the fakir turned up and was very angry with them for allowing to take away his disciple. There was some hot discussion and altercation, and it was finally decided that both Guru and Chela should return to Shirdi. And so they returned and lived in Shirdi. But after a few days, the Guru was tested by Devidas and he was found wanting. 12 years before Baba arrived in Shirdi with the marriage party, this devotee, aged about 10 or 11 years, came to Shirdi and lived in the Marathi temple. Devidas had fine features and brilliant eyes, and he was dispassion incarnate and a dhyani. Many persons, namely Tatya Kote, Kashinath, and others regarded him their guru. They bought Javhar Ali in his presence, and in the discussion that followed, Javhar was shocked and fled from Shirdi. He went and stayed in Bijapur and returned after many years to Shirdi and prostrated himself before Sai Baba. The delusion that he was Guru and Sai Baba, his Chela, was cleared away, and as he repented, Sai Baba treated him with respect. In this case, Sai Baba showed by his conduct how one should get rid of egoism and do the duties of a disciple to attain the highest end, which is self-realization. This story is told here according to the version given by Mahalsapati, a great devotee of Baba. In the next chapter, we will learn about Ramanavami festival, the masjid, its former condition and later improvements, etc. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be to all.